Yes, my people, welcome back to another episode of the Where's My podcast. And today we're joined by another special guest. We're joined by my guy, Sean Azeez-Bright. For those of you who don't know, Sean is a stylist. He styled the likes of Young T and Bugsy, Central C, Harry Panero, Big Man Tinnie, Tempah. He's done a lot. And obviously also at the moment he's got his own shop, Focus Man Fashion, right?
Yeah, focusman.co.uk.
Focusman.co.uk, yeah, that's a lovely plug right there. And Sean really does his thing, man. So Sean, thanks
Nice
for
to
coming
meet
on the
you.
pod,
Thank you, my bro.
But yeah, where do we start, man? Every episode, I don't know if you've clocked, but I basically just talk about why I want the guest on the pod, so why you're in the seat today, innit? Mm-hmm. And obviously I remember you hit us up by email a while back, innit? Yeah. So obviously I see your email, then I checked out what you do in that, seeing that it's legitimate, you do your thing. You do your thing and whatnot. And then recently when we've been speaking, you said something to me that really caught my attention, where you were like, you want to show people how you actually make a career and money out of styling.
Yeah.
And from just speaking to you before, you showed me that that's like almost like a narrative that isn't really spoken about.
Yeah, for me in particular, I just feel like I think there's an aspect of styling that is not often spoken about, which is the understanding, like I feel like the business side of it a bit, just to kind of, because sometimes I feel like there's a lot of opportunities out there, but also knowing what's right for you, and also learning how to, like, you know, to what should I say? Let's say in a sense that know what's worth as well, because there's a lot of jobs that are sometimes thrown at me, and I'm like, yeah, but I can't be paid this amount for this job. I'm like, oh, I have to go back there and negotiate or get my agency to step in on my behalf, you know. So like that's one thing I really want to touch upon today. Just kind of give people a bit of insight into how styling works and what are the aspects of it, because I feel like sometimes, like if you do like an editorial shoot, yes, there's sometimes no budget, but there are other aspects of styling that you can actually make an actual, you know, living from, you know. So yeah, I just really want to talk upon those things, and also just kind of give people an insight into, like, you know, how it is to be a stylist, and also the good aspects, and also just talk about all the other sides that isn't all spoken about. Yeah.
Love for that, Sean. I'm excited for the conversation, man. I think before we get into the nitty gritty, obviously, you know me, I like to start right at the beginning. You know, who is Sean? Where did you come from?
Yeah. So for me, my name's Sean. I'm 28 years old. Well, I'd say I'm a London-based stylist, even though like I live on the outskirts of London. But yeah, I've always like been styling for like probably about since I was probably like 17, 16. Like I studied it all the way from college all the way up to university.
Wait, you studied styling?
Yeah, well, I studied fashion retail.
Okay.
Which was at college level, so I got a level 3 diploma. Then I went off to to get a degree in fashion promotion and imaging. Okay. So my level 3 course, which was fashion retail, was actually studied at the Fashion Retail Academy, which is actually owned by the Arcadia Group. Okay. Obviously, the Arcadia Group don't exist anymore, but at the time it was owned by the Arcadia Group. I'm not sure if it still is, but so I studied there for a good 2 years, got a diploma in that. Met a lot of people along the way who I still call friends now, that work in industry. And funny enough, some of my friends, after they did that level 3, they were set to go into industry, but you know, from my background, my parents are like, you know, university. So I pursued it.
Wait, what is your background?
So I'm half Sri Lankan, half Nigerian, by obviously descent. So yeah, my parents like go to university, and that obviously they didn't mind me doing styling, because they knew that I could make a career from it anyway.
Wait, sorry, Sean, let me cut you there, yeah. Because what you just said was kind of contradictory in the sense that your parents wanted you to go to uni. Naturally, I'm West African as well, Ghanaian. Like I know what it's like. Like, how did they know that you would be able to make a living out of styling? Because a lot of our parents don't really know what this thing is. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. So funny enough, so my dad works for this like he's a taxi driver, and he works for this taxi company. And he always picks up stylists. Like I'm not gonna say what company they are, but like a lot of like big stylists use them anyway. And like, so he's always like, oh yeah, my son's a stylist. Like he's seeing them, like taking them to this studio, taking them to these TV stations, to like, you know, or like So he understands the aspect already. And then I think my mum's just, she's very spiritually minded, and she just understands that what I want to do. So she just wants me to like, just pursue that dream. Yeah. So like, obviously she sees I'm really passionate about fashion, so she's not going to say no to us. So I'm doing that. Yeah. But yeah, that's how my parents are. They're just supportive.
Sorry, Sean, let me go back. Let's backtrack a bit. Because with all the guests I've spoken to, a lot of them can trace their love for fashion back to something. Yeah. Like, of course, when you got to 17 and 18, whatever, you were studying fashion retail academy and whatnot. But what came before that? Like, was there a first time you remember styling someone? Was there a reason you fell in love with fashion? Like, what happened?
So for me, growing up as a kid, I've always been creative. So like in school, I loved design and technology.
Oh, you was a DT man?
Yeah, I love design.
I hated that subject.
I don't know why. Like, I love design and technology, art, food tech. And like, I always just think, there must be a job title called like a design and technologist. But obviously, there is nothing like that. But in my head, I thought that these times I was like young, obviously. But as I grew older, I realized that it's actually stemming to like me going into like fashion, or maybe me wanting to go into like maybe doing something around food. But I actually just stuck to fashion because I just liked it for some reason. I like dressing. One of the things that I also loved as well was the fact that when I watched this reality show called the Rachel Zoe Project. The Rachel Zoe Project. So she's like this really big like American stylist. But like I'll say like everyone knows Rachel Zoe because like she was like one of the biggest like stylists that I've seen anyway to come from Hollywood. To have like, she has like her own like clothing line. A lot of things are branded just with her name on it, and she's amazingly successful. So I was always used to watch like how like, you know, she would have like stylists working for her. Like she would dress this stylist on the red carpet. I was like, oh wow, I didn't know there's a job called a stylist. And these times I was young, so what I did was that I watched a couple like seasons of the show. Then I must have like googled like how do you like, you know, to do styling and stuff. So I must have found some like contact with for London Fashion Week, and I just emailed this like production company that was doing like all the like backstage like work, and I was like, is there any opportunities to like do some dress?
But how old are you at this point?
These times I was like probably like just, what was that, 16, 17?
Oh, damn. Year 11, sixth form times college. Yeah,
so like I just emailed them and they're like, yeah, come on board, like, you know, just so I helped out backstage, and that was kind of like my first kind of like just a bit of like touching like what the fashion industry was like.
And what was that experience like then?
It was cool. I liked it, you know, like I didn't have no like, oh, I don't want to do this. Then after that I found another internship, which was really good. Like that was like a really good like eye opener for me. Like I was able to understand like, you know, like developing your press contact list, because that's another thing that isn't spoken about. Like it's cool that everyone can dress and they can call themselves a stylist, but to really have a good to keep a good client around, you need to have good contacts with brands. So like for when I understood that, like, you know, having those PR contacts are very important, just because like if you can't have access to those clothes, you can't always go out there and buy and return, or you can't use or you can't even use the rental service, like, because it's not feasible all the time. So like obviously having those PR contacts is like one of the big essential things that I would say that taught me when I was interning. And then I started, then after that I started just like interning for another stylist. She kind of
the internship you did before was for like a particular stylist. Like was you like a styling assistant basically?
Yeah, basically.
How did you know you needed to do that? Like, because with a lot of people, because you made an interesting point about people obviously dressing well, so they think they can be a stylist, and I feel like it's right to think like that. But of course, some steps come before that. So obviously, I'm sure amongst your friends, you were one of the guys that was flying whatnot. How come you just didn't try and start styling by yourself?
For me, I don't know. I just think I took the traditional route, and also one of the thing is like, yeah, you can try and do it yourself, which is cool. Like I see a lot of influencers coming up from, because they can dress cool, they get clients easily. But at the time, I would say Instagram was just starting up. As for me as well, like I don't think I didn't know much. So I needed that kind of nourishment, you know.
Yeah, you had to learn.
Yeah, I had to learn, and I like the grafting. I like the fact that I'd have a suitcase in my hand, coming from my house to like it's walking out central London with a suitcase, and people ask me like, "Where you going? Are you traveling?" I'm like, "No, I'm not traveling. I'm working as a stylist. I'm a stylist assistant." You know, like I loved all of that grafting. That's one of the things that made me really think I want to do this. Obviously it got easier obviously when I started to drive, then it made it easier, so like I just like take my car, pick up the clothes. But all of that is all part of the grafting, you know.
100%.
Like I think as well, like just I don't know, I'm just passionate about it. You know, like, you know, that when you meet someone and they just want to do something and they just want to be known for that one thing. That's just me.
That's you.
Because I've met people that have come and gone, you know, like
naturally.
And some people, like even people that assist me, they want to do it, and then they realize that there's a lot of like they're picking up clothes, and they're like, I'm not sure it's for me. Then they just they kind of like
fall off by the wayside, didn't it?
Kind of, or they don't really want to do it, but
So you did that first internship, and then you said you moved on to a next one. And so what was that like?
So the next one was she was really like I say that she's a really good mentor. Like she's like a really amazing stylist, like amazing clients. Like,
what did you learn from her?
To be honest with you, at the time I'd say I learned how to like hold a client down. Like when I mean hold a client down in the sense that it was like you see like how she treated a client, how she was like, you know, like she always made them feel confident. So I learned that just watching her, how she moved. Like, although I had the knowledge of like the PR contacts, because usually that's what is the first step, I would say most people want to assist, like to learn it. But I learned all of the
interpersonal skills.
Yeah, like just seeing how she had that relationship built with the artist. And that kind of taught me, like, you know, how those, like even like how she would lay out clothes, like all of those little things that really taught me a lot. And like, because like, she mainly did music stuff. Okay. So being around those like artists that I grew up listening to.
Like, who were you around?
I don't really know, because they're her client.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool,
so, but I was around like A-listers, like, and like learning from her in particular. Yeah. Like that was amazing, you know. So stuff like that, and then as time went on, I don't know, I just kind of like stopped working with her, you know. But it wasn't like anything, it's just like I just kind of like, you know, started doing my own work.
Of course.
So I met this magazine publication called Bleu, who I emailed at the time.
Sorry, Sean, let me cut you there. I forgot to mention, I knew when I was introducing Sean, I forgot something. Sean is the European editor of an American fashion publication called Bleu Magazine. Yeah, so Sean.
So I emailed this magazine called Bleu at the time when I was like in university. Yeah. Funny enough, like I think it was like my second or third year of uni. Like I just emailed them, like I didn't even know they'd get back to me, because at the time, like one of my favorite stylists I was followed always used to do work for them. I was like, let me just email them, why not? You know, what can happen here?
What's that gonna happen?
Yeah, like then at the time the then fashion editor must have like emailed me like a month later saying that, like, we like your work, like we'd love to have you on board. So I started contributing for them, like, and that's how I would say I started making like the connections with like talking to music publicists to trying to get their artists like on the covers of shoots, or like just like, you know, trying to start them for like features in the magazine, just to kind of build my name and to build a profile about myself. And that's what led me working with a lot of those big names that you've mentioned earlier. Because without that magazine, I actually don't know like how easy it would have been to kind of like gravitate the whole styling process, because like that magazine opened doors for me to have like access to like big brands, to work with like their PR agencies, to like to network with certain things, you know. So really opened doors, and I'm still with them. I
realised. So that means you've been with them for a minute.
Yeah, I think I've been with them since like 2014. Okay. You have to check my LinkedIn. LinkedIn says it all. But so that's one of the things that I would say that really helped me. That magazine really pivoted.
Sure. Let me cut you there. Yeah. So obviously, I still need to kind of work out what you kind of did in uni. And also, you obviously mentioned that you decided to reach out and try and get Like, you reached out to this magazine whilst you were at university, despite the fact you had so much work going on, obviously, and were confident enough and thought it would be valuable enough to get that sort of experience. So my first question is, what did you do in uni? What was it like? And then secondly, why did you feel like you needed to reach out to this publication?
So for me, so I studied fashion promotion imaging, which is essentially like, I would say it takes up the core of like marketing, PR, it gives you a touch of PR, like photography, styling. So it's like a broad kind of like, if you want to go into the non-design side of fashion, or more kind of like the whole other angles around like fashion, then that's probably a good kind of subject. It didn't touch upon fashion journalism as much, but there was aspects of it covered as well. But one of the things I found with the degree was that it was really good and broad. I'd always known I wanted to be a stylist because, like I said, I was styling while at uni, and it really helped me anyway. Just because I feel like while you're at uni, you should also still try to do some sort of like extra work outside of your degree, because sometimes I found that, like, I've met people who actually didn't actually have a formal degree in fashion, but they're doing so well. They work for this corporation in fashion. So I just always felt like it would be a good thing to always have that extra, what should I say?
Experience?
Yeah, extra experience. So I really liked it. And then what made me really want to email this magazine was really just the fact that I saw that this stylist I liked was working for them. Like he was doing like a lot of their cover sheets at the time. And I was just like, yeah, I like this guy's work. What's the harm of me emailing them? Obviously, like, I can do something over here for them in the UK. And yeah, that's what I've been doing. Off. Yeah, I've been doing that for quite a while.
So once you finished uni, you started working for the magazine straight away?
I would say once I finished uni, I was like freelancing anyway, and still working for the magazine. So with the magazine, it's more a sense like, it's like a contributing role. So it's not like they need me like on a 9 to 5, like, because whenever they hit me up for work, or like I've got something that I can pitch to them, I pitch it to them, and then, you know.
So you got a proper relationship.
Yeah, I've got a really good relationship. Yeah.
So you know how you said you started freelancing, because remember at the beginning of the conversation we spoke about the fact that we want to talk about like the business side of styling. So at this point where you were freelancing, like, were you still an assistant, or were you like styling for Sean Azeez, making money from it?
With freelancing, like I still had a job on the side. So with the job on the side, it's like it's more like to sustain yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you really want to push with this thing, you have to have something. Like for me in particular, there were some jobs that will pay, like when I'm assisting, like most of the time I was always getting paid work anyway as an assistant stylist. But then when you're kind of doing your own work and trying to build up your portfolio, you're generally not going to get paid work, because you're trying to network with this photographer, or you know, just trying to put some collaborations together, kind of build like a healthy portfolio that can get you recognized, maybe to get yourself some commercial work, maybe to even get yourself something like to work with a brand on an e-com basis. So yeah, so I was always working on the side. Yeah, so that's my come up so far within that aspect of styling.
And then when would you say, I don't want to say proper money, because obviously it's subjective, innit? But when did it become like your main bread and butter?
So like I'm still like I still say I'm still grafting, you know. Like, although like I do get it, like the way how I am very like, and very how I brand myself. So like, but I'm still grafting. I'll definitely say that. Like sometimes, you know, with like I've now got an agent, so sometimes the communication process is better with negotiating certain things, but it's still a graft. Like I can't say that I've made it yet. Like you know.
No, do you know what, Sean? I appreciate your honesty, and still, like, don't think that because you haven't hit the, I don't know, bloody Hollywood yet or whatever, that your opinion and story and perspective and all of this isn't valid, because it really is. Because there's somebody else listening that's in the same position as you now, and they're learning from you at the end of the day. So more power to you, bro.
A lot of people do think like. A lot of people, like, I get a lot of DMs from people always asking if they want to assist me. Like, it's really good, and like it does blow my brain that people see me that way, and I'm so happy that people see me that way. But at the same time, I don't know. Like I feel like it's just me. Like I'm one of those guys that I'm always like aiming to be better.
Yeah.
Like I'm never gonna say I made it, so I can just kick back and like I'm still trying to like work with some of the biggest UK rappers, some of like the biggest like artists that these labels, you know, I just want to be like known as the go-to guy for styling, you know.
And you know what, Sean?
Yeah.
Considering you're still in the phase where you'll position yourself as you said, like the go-to stylist and whatnot, and you do have the aspirations to style the biggest rappers in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you feel like you need to do to get there?
To be honest with you, it's just visibility. And you know one thing as well, because the styling game is quite saturated at the moment.
Ooh, in terms of what do you mean?
So like when I say saturated, in the sense that there is a lot of stylists out there, and sometimes you're always gonna find that with this industry. So like you have to do something that sets yourself apart. So like I'm doing different things in the fashion industry, but still links me back to styling.
So for example, like your focus man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's like that's a long-term vision, but it's carrying me through with my styling career. It's all linking it all back, you know. Just like I see everything from a business angle as well. So I've always been that kind of mindset. Yeah. I don't just see that I'm a creative, and then like I also have to understand that there has to be somewhere you need to survive to make this happen, you know, and to make it work. Yeah.
So how do you kind of garner that visibility then? Like, is it just keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I think you just have to keep doing what you're doing, and also just never be afraid to email. So like with me, I'm always emailing like artist management, like I'm just finding out this person's a fashion producer, they produce this campaign for this big brand. I'm like, oh yeah. So I'll be like, this is an email contact that I need. I'll be like, I send it to my agent, like, what do you think? Can we like email this person? Or like my agents are talking to like people like big, like, you know, like brands or labels on my behalf, and those type of things are helping to kind of push me in that direction that I want to go. Because like when you have somebody that sees your vision, like it helps. That's why when you get to a certain point in your career, I do try to advise like some stylists, you know, like creatives in general, to try to take on like a creative agency if they think your book is strong enough to be on there, to be represented by them. Although they're going to take an agency commissioning fee, but those type of admin stuff kind of helps, because they too have connections in places that your name may have never heard of, and that helps. So yeah, all of those little things is what I'm doing to push me in that right direction to where I want to go, you know.
And so how did you get in touch with that creative agency then?
So I would say I've always had agents that have worked with me, but in particular, around last year, I started like seeing this one agency that specifically they work with like people of color, and they elevate them in the sense that they push them for more like higher end, like, you know, publications, like brands, like they really like push their creators profile. So I emailed them, didn't think much of it again, and because I was like, they work with like all the big publications. I was like, oh, like what they're gonna think of my portfolio. And they, you know what, they actually like my portfolio. Like, yeah, you got some good names in your book. I don't know if I downplay myself a lot with styling, because like of how hard I've seen it as well with the styling for me. But yeah, they said they like my work, and they're like, yeah, we're happy to have you, and like and so far the journey is going good with them, because I think they see my vision, and because they see my vision, I know that's something that I want to be a part of with them as well.
You're basically saying you want them to be, when you're successful, you want to help them also, like they can say the fact that, yo, we've had Sean Azeez-Bright as one of our clients, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think like they've got a really good vision, and like the people who they already represent as well, like they're amazing at what they do. They've got like some of the biggest like celebrities in their books. Some of them have years of experience. Yes, I've got years of experience too, but there's also good hearing it from them, like how their come up is, and like how the industry's going for them. And I think, yeah, being around that collective as well keeps me inspired, and it makes me look good as well.
No, facts. Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. I think that's definitely one of the good things of being part of like a collective, if you want to call it that, because everybody's success kind of compounds to help everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Because like even when I like look at some of the stylists that I aspire to, like a lot of them have styling agents. Like you always see it in their bio. Like, what's that about? Like I was coming up, I was like, what's that about? Like I'm so interested. Then I'll be like, oh yeah, so stylists have agents, and that makes sense. So it helps them get work, and also it helps them. The agent takes care of the clients that already exist under their books. You know, it's just one of those things that I thought I needed. Yeah. So finding that one agency that really believed in me really made sense. And yeah, I've had other agents that worked with me in the past, and they've done a good job. But I think this one makes sense for me.
Good luck with them, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Sean, you said something that caught my attention. Yeah, you basically said sometimes you feel like maybe you downplay yourself too much. As a stylist, do you think it's really important to kind of be your own biggest fan and sort of shout the loudest about what you've done?
Good question. I don't know. It's just me. Like, if you see my work, you're seeing my work type of thing. Like, that's just how I've always been. Like, I don't know. Like most people, most stylists that I know, like they're known for their work, and like that's how I just want to be seen. I just want to be known for my work. So like I'd rather let someone recognize me rather than me be like, yo, look what I did. Like, yo, check my work out. Like, yeah, I'm like, I do promote my work, don't get me wrong, because that's how you get seen. But at the end of the day, it's all about people just knowing you for who you are. Like some of the biggest names in fashion, like they're known for a specific thing. Yeah, like they've got like an identity that, like, when you see, like, for example, when I see certain stylist works, like I just know it's them. I don't even need to check the credit. I'm like, I just know it's their work.
Seriously?
Yeah, a certain stylist that I can just see. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I know that's your work. Like, I'll give you a good example. Like, there's a guy called Ibrahim Kamara.
Oh, as in Dazed.
Yeah.
And what we he's at Off-White now, isn't it?
Yeah. So when I see his work, like sometimes I don't really check the credit. I'm like, this is his work.
But what?
He's amazing at what he does.
What is it about his work that causes you to know that is him?
I don't know. It's just that I think like he's got this like, it's very avant-garde. Like straight away, like I know it's his work straight away. There's another guy, he works at GQ America. I believe he's the editor now, GQ Style America, I might be wrong. He's a Nigerian guy called I can never say his name properly, but yeah, like straight away I know it's his work. Like I don't know, maybe that's just me because I'm a stylist myself. So like certain people's work I can just like spot away, like his work is always pristine. It's like clean cut tailoring. Like I can just spot it straight away. So like that's like how I want a signature for my styling as well. Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting, Sean? It's nice how the conversation took this turn, because that's what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask, like, what do you want to be known for? Like, and like, how does a stylist, because you know how with designers, they say designers have a design language, I feel like because you're making the clothes yourself, it makes sense for designers to be able to have that. Do you know what I'm saying? But as a stylist, where you're having to pick pieces from other places that you obviously haven't designed, I feel like I don't want to say it's harder to have like a signature, but like, how does a stylist make a signature aesthetic?
You can still have your own stamp on it. So, for example, generally, I think mood boards help me gravitate to how I can put my own signature style on something. So, for example, when I'm like, if I get a new client to work with, or I'm working on like, let's say a press shoot or some sort of a music video, generally I'll create like a mood board, and that kind of helps me gravitate like how I want to style it. And then I guess like,
hey, sure, move close to the mic,
I guess like as well, people may see that as my work, like obviously as I do different work, people will see that he's got a certain way. Like for me, my styling is always like sartorial, kind of like clean, like some may even call it simple, but simple in the sense you're gonna see that high end element. Like, and there was at one point that I think too many people used to say I had too much tailoring in my book.
Okay.
In my portfolio.
That's interesting.
And that kind of made me feel like, oh, I need to kind of like switch it up a bit. So I did try to switch it up a bit, but yeah, my styling always still tends to gravitate towards simple, clean, minimalist.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because I think, I kind of like brand myself in the sense that that there's some like a menswear kind of stylist, even though I'm not really a menswear stylist. I do women's wear as well, but I think you can predominantly sometimes see that inside my books, that there's an element of more menswear. But yeah, that's the way how sometimes people see my work. But I've had a few feedbacks from people on how they describe my work. It's very much like they can see it in like a GQ or an Esquire.
Okay, yeah. Even just thinking about what I've seen, obviously I've seen it. Yeah, particularly Esquire as well. Yeah, I get that.
And obviously that's the way I'm just branding myself in a sense that way. So if those magazines when they do come knocking on the door, that work is always there. And just in general, I just wanna
need that signature.
Yeah. Like I said, like most stylists have their own signature look, and like I can always spot it straight away.
That's sick.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, why do I always forget my good questions, bro? Oh, this is the worst. But oh my days, my head literally went blank, fam. This is what happens when I'm tired at work, you know. Long day, fam. I've been busy recently. But do you know what, Sean? Yeah, I hope I'm gonna remember that question. But I think we can take the conversation to more what you want to tell people, because obviously when we were outside before we started recording, you were saying how you feel that there's particular narratives that are kind of left out of the styling / stylist conversation. So if I pass the mic over to you and I'm like, okay, Sean, like, what do you want these up and coming stylists to know? Like, what would it be?
I think it's very important to assist.
Okay.
It's just one of those things where I think the etiquette is important.
When you say the etiquette, what do you mean?
So the etiquette of like learning how to like treat a client, how to handle a client, just understanding the PR contacts, because it's one of those things that we can all dress, but having those elements of that, it would take you further in styling, I personally think, because like sometimes it's quite hard to get hold of these like PR contacts within the fashion industry. Like there are like directory like sites that you can actually pay to be a monthly subscriber, and you can have access to all the brand's PR contacts.
You think it's worth it?
Yeah, I signed up to it for a bit, but generally I just like made a lot of industry connections. So generally I've always got the contacts in my email book, just waiting to use them for like, let's say I've got a client that needs that specific brand, I can just like rock up to them and like, so for example, like a lot of people was asking me like, oh, do you have to buy the clothes? And that's one thing sometimes I do. It does make me laugh, but obviously that's that's obviously just from people just not having that experience. But obviously when I experience them, know like there's a PR agency or showroom behind these brands that actually reach out to stylists, to influencers, to like say, hey, like you can use our pieces for like editorial shoots for red carpets and stuff like that, you know. So I think those are the real important things about styling that I think people should take into consideration. You know, it's really important to kind of know your PR contacts, because like I even see sometimes stylists when they put on Instagram or they put out an email for a stylist assistant vacancy, they always say they want an experienced stylist, and generally when they use the word experienced stylist, it's because they want someone that knows the PR contacts.
Okay,
that's how I perceive it anyway, because when I put out the word I want an experienced, that's what I mean in my head anyway. Yeah. So yeah, so I think it's really important, like I think never be afraid to assist or like intern, or you know, just to kind of get to get yourself oiled in the industry, you know.
Is there anything that, of course, there's a lot that you wouldn't have known before you kind of got into the industry, but was there anything that surprised you once you got into it?
You know what? I wasn't surprised about the industry. I think one of the things that surprised me the most is the fact that there's so much unpaid work sometimes.
Damn.
With like styling, like a lot of like things people would like a lot. I understand like I don't know, some people see it as a career sometimes. Like they try to shortchange people, like they don't want to pay you your money's worth. But I'm like, yeah, this is my experience. Like this is what I know I'm valued at. Like if you don't want to pay me that, then why are you approaching me type of thing?
Facts.
or like sometimes somebody would like email and say that they would email in a sense like the opportunity is great, but I know it could be paid. And I'm like, how do you want me to do this? Like with next to nothing of a budget, you know? But it's not.
How do you navigate? Sorry to cut you, Sean. How do you navigate those situations? Because you obviously don't want to lose a potential client. But at the end of the day, I mean, life really lives.
It really helps now that I've got an agency that works with me. Like I'm still approachable. I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like anyone don't get the wrong idea of what I just said, but it's more or less that I feel like sometimes people do try to like shortchange a lot of stylists and like like in how much we should be paid, and like sometimes like or like having to wait for invoices to be paid and stuff like that. It's just it's these are the things with styling that
comes with the territory.
Yeah, but I love the field of styling. Like I'd never like change it for anything, you know.
But that's definitely just something that people have to be aware of at the end of the day, isn't it?
I think just understanding how to be able to negotiate and come to terms with people is a good thing. Like, you know, you have to be really good at negotiating. I think it really helps now that I've got an agency. Because before, like, I struggled with negotiating. And sometimes, like, almost to the point that I think I don't want to lose a client.
Yeah, so you'll do things for less than your worth. And speaking of that, Sean, it's interesting because the last time we recorded, we had Kira Liberati on the pod, and obviously she's a big stylist, done her thing and whatnot. She's amazing. She's smashing. It's so sick. Lovely woman as well. Yeah.
Is that out yet?
No. If it was out, you would have seen it. Trust me, you would have seen it. It'll come out soon though. But anyway, we got onto the point of like talking about how does a stylist know their value, because I think it's a really important discussion. Because, for example, like with what we're doing, or when it comes to us wanting to do videography or something like that, like how do you know how much people should pay you? Do you get it? So when it comes to the situations where somebody offers you X amount, how do you know what's enough and what's not enough?
This is where I would say the way to, I think it's based on experience. Also, I think as well, like stylists should never be like embarrassed to talk about like the whole how much they're getting paid for jobs. Like I don't think, even me, I've got loads of friends that are stylists and we never really have that conversation.
Why not?
I don't know. It's almost as if like I feel like it's territorial.
Okay.
And like sometimes I don't want to discuss it because I'm like, I'm not sure how my friends would react if they knew how much I was getting paid for this. Like, but I think there should be an open conversation because it kind of gives you a better understanding whether or not 100%. You're gauging it at the right price.
100%.
Because it's one of those fields where there's not a set price. Just like for being a director, I'm sure they're in a set price for like depending on what the actual treatment is, or you kind of have to set the budget according to that. But but it's an interesting topic because that is, I think, a conversation that needs to be had.
Defo. And do you know what's interesting about what you said, Sean? You know how you basically said you got friends that are stylists and whatnot, but you won't talk about, you know, the important discussions. Do you remember when there was that whole debacle around black influencers basically realized they were getting paid less than like white influencers for the same job? Do you know what I'm saying?
I saw that on Twitter and Instagram.
Exactly. So since those conversations were had, the market, I'm sure, has become more equal because it has to be more transparent now. Do you know what I'm saying? You can hold these sort of corporates or whatever to account. So it would be nice if stylists would have those conversations with each other for people to realize like, yo, like you're getting shortchanged because as I was saying before, at the end of the day, like this is you lot's livelihood. Like you need to make money to live. Do you know what I mean?
I think that, I don't know, it's just one of those things that no one talks about. Like, you know, the whole freelancing aspect, no one talks about, like, you know, how can you make an income from it? Like, it's only been like probably within maybe like a few years, probably about, I've only started to see kind of like money coming in, like proper, like I can say,
just the past couple of years,
Yeah, maybe, I'd say so. Yeah, like it's still grafting, you know. I'm still not like where I really want to be, but like it's still grafting. But like I said, I'm hungry for it. I've got the experience, you know, and like put me in, like, especially for me as well, like one thing that also helps my styling, which I think some of my friends will say that they can say this as a testament, is that my PR knowledge of like who's at this PR agency, like if I go to a networking event, I'm like, yeah, I know this person, like this person would be good to connect. Like sometimes I'm always connecting my friends, like with this person that works in this.
You say you're the plug.
I could say it. I could kind of say
humbly.
Yeah, in a way, because like I just feel like I've met a lot of people. Like funny enough, like a lot of people went to college with, university with. Some of them just find themselves. I find them working in the industry, and I kind of, oh yeah, we went to school together, and that's how that conversation then. Like that relationship is built. And then like sometimes as well, like just knowing people from like over the years, like they moved to that agency, so like all of that really helps, like, you know, the connections, because it's all about connecting the dot as well in this industry. Like,
to be fair, in most industries, but in an industry like styling where you need to get clothes, like it's interesting because I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and she does like film, like music video directors and stuff, innit? And she was talking about favors, how favors are like a thing in that industry, where it's like if somebody does something for you, like you kind of unofficially but officially owe them something, and you can call it in at any time. Like, would you say that styling has like a similar element to that?
No, I wouldn't say there's not a sense of favors, because sometimes you can still know somebody at an agency, like, oh, I want to request to use this clothes for a particular artist, and they can say no because it probably doesn't fit the branding of that brand, and that's fine. But I mean, having those connections are important. I always say, also like going to, like, sometimes people want to go to Fashion Week, like knowing people at the agencies as well is important as well.
That's how you end up there, isn't it?
That's how you end up at the shows. You go to see the collections. Like, there's a lot of perks within this industry as well. Like, sometimes like you get industry only like events where like you can go to a sample sale, which is like and you can have access to these brands. Like, there's also like different things that like they can gift you as well. Like those are nice perks of being like able to have those connections within the industry.
No, as they say, your network is your net worth at the end of the day.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sean, I've noticed that with you, you've done a lot of, like, you keep saying e-com shoots. If I'm correct, is it e-commerce shoots?
Yeah, e-commerce.
Are those for like Benja and whatnot? Does that count as like an e-com shoot?
Yes. And
then the other end of that would be like when you're like shooting for particular like artists or something like that.
So e-commerce, in the sense that it's like, e-commerce is like online, like imagery. So like online, like you know, like when you're shopping online, like the whole aspects of that, like how the model wears the clothes, so you can gauge the understanding of the fit. So you as the buyer, or should I say consumer, like you want to gauge the fit of how it looks. So that model is kind of like your fit model, to kind of have an understanding of what it would look on you as the potential buyer. So I do a lot of e-com on the side.
Sorry, Sean, and to go on from that, like, because this is giving me like an insight that I didn't have before. So when it comes to like e-com shoots in comparison to when you're like styling an artist and whatnot, does styling an artist take more skill, quote unquote, because it's having to align with the artist's personality and whatnot, and what the label wants and all of that? Whereas when it comes to e-com shoots, it's more about the fit. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So e-commerce is very pristine, and like everything has to be really clean cut, fine eye detailing. Yeah. Because like it's you have to make sure that the garment is worn according to how it's been designed, and like everything has to be like seen, like, so like that's why sometimes when you do e-commerce shoots, some people may say it's boring, etc., because it's a lot of stylists' bread and butter for when they're not doing like the creative stuff. And like with e-commerce, you like let's say you have a jacket, you have to make sure that it's properly done up, like they can see like all the detailing, like making sure that everything is like, you know, like maybe you might have to like lint roll it properly, steam it. It has to be done according to the design, and it has to look so clean and perfect, so the consumer who's buying the clothes knows what they're buying. Because obviously it's online shopping, and online shopping, like sometimes you can see one or two customers maybe like like if it's not done properly, they might be like, oh, this isn't what I was expecting. Yeah. So like e-commerce, it's a fine eye detailing. And
so it takes a different so not say it's easy, I'm not going to say that because that's not fair, but it takes a different type of skill.
So in styling as well, there's some people are just product based stylists, or some people are just e-commerce stylists. So some people just decide to work in-house for a brand and that's it. They're just going to be e-commerce stylists and they just shoot for that brand in particular. So there's like a brand guideline. So according to that brand, they tell you that this is their ethos, this is how everything is, and you just follow that brand guideline, and then like make sure that it's always suiting the brief of the brand. And then obviously you got the more kind of, I would say, like the styling element, working with celebrities or working with a talent in particular. That's more kind of like suiting it to suit their personality, finding what they like, what they don't like. Just like I'm getting gauging the element of who they are and I'm bringing their personality alive as well.
And you know what, Sean? Yeah, I like the fact that you ended on that, like bringing their personality alive. Because when we were speaking with Kira, we spoke about like how important that is to like. Obviously, you want your the way you're dressed to be an extension of who you are, and for a stylist to be able to do that for someone else, I suppose that's what makes a great stylist. Because at the end of the day, you're meant to know yourself better than you know anyone else. But to be a good stylist, you really have to know what that person wants, quote unquote, and what that person needs. And the reason I bring that up is because I want to move the conversation into like a section where we kind of talk about what makes a good stylist to you. Do you know what I'm saying?
So I mean, what makes a really good stylist in particular to me would be the sense of that they're confident with it. You have to be confident with.
Why'd you say that?
Because sometimes, like, let's say you're working with a talent, like you have to also be able to kind of like, because some talent may not feel comfortable wearing that piece of item that you may have pulled for them. But if you can let them see the vision and they can believe in your vision and then trust you, that makes you a good stylist. And I've seen that happen with the lady that was my mentor. I've seen that happen.
So you learned a lot from her, boy.
Yeah, I've seen that happen countless times. Just watching like how she would like show the artist like, yeah, this is for you. This is a great item to wear, and the artist feel confident after wearing it, you know.
So when you like get a brief, Sean, what's your like process? Obviously, sorry to cut you, but I know like depending on who you're doing it for, let's say it's in connection with the label are gonna have their own vision, and then the artists themselves might have their own vision. But like, so when you get all of that, like, what goes into it?
So for me, the process of like usually, so when I get approached by like management companies or talent agencies, usually they would kind of give me a rough idea of what they're looking to shoot, and then I will then like circle back to them with like a mood board around like the photographer's like brief, or if whoever sent me the brief, and then I'll be like, this is what I kind of have envisioned, and then we kind of like sit out, talk it through in a meeting. And that process we discussed like what elements of like they want to see in the shoot. They talk about their brand preferences. Then generally I like to do a fitting as well, or I like to show the clothes beforehand, because I'd hate to rock up to a shoot and then the talent's not happy with anything that I've
happened before.
No, but that's because I've had that experience of assisting. So seeing that fittings, it's good to have a fitting before. I'm not saying it genuinely has to happen, but at least kind of like communication process of like showing them like what you're pulling. But yeah, that's never happened to me before. Touch wood.
Touch wood. Yeah. So what else goes into it after that then, I suppose, like your fitting and whatnot, like in terms of a more like, how can I put this? I don't want to be too verbose when I talk about this, like not in like an artsy fartsy way, but like what goes into like understanding the brief and like understanding what the stylist wants, what the artist wants and what the label wants. Because at the end of the day, as much as they have a vision, quote unquote, I feel like when you're hiring a stylist, you're hiring them because of what they bring, not just because of the fact that you feel like they can hit your brief. Do you know what I'm saying?
So I guess sometimes you have to also look at the artist as well. So like sometimes you have to look at the artist from before they had a stylist. Like sometimes I like to Google, like if I get a work with a talent, I like to Google them and also kind of see like what are their like previous like press images looking like, what are their what's their social media looking like, because that kind of gives you a rough insight into what they dress like on a daily basis without a stylist implementing. And then I guess for you as the stylist, you need to help them elevate that even more. And that's just how I work anyway. And I think some stylists do the same thing. They always check their talent social media to kind of gauge who they are as a person. Yeah.
And is that important because you want them to feel comfortable in what you're putting them in?
Yeah, it's important, but at the same time, I think it's also, there's no point trying to make them branch way beyond what they're comfortable in, way beyond what they're not comfortable in, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that they're comfortable, but you also still want to make sure that they feel elevated.
Exactly. So it's a difficult thing to balance.
I think it's just a fine line of understanding who the artist is and understanding their vision. Yeah, man.
Sean, remember whilst during this conversation, I said I forgot a question.
Yeah.
I remember the question now.
Yeah, go on.
So basically, when you were talking about how there was a point where people said there was too much tailoring in your portfolio.
Yeah.
Why was that an issue?
I think at the time, certain photographers I was collaborating with were looking for a certain type of style. And again, like if you're gonna come to me, maybe you're gonna get that. But I did take it on board, and I actually saw that there's a certain element that could change, and so I've like in my portfolio now there's a mixture of stuff. I mean, only maybe because I do a lot of talent work now, so you're not gonna see that. But at the time when I was doing mainly a lot of editorials, I could say like I was kind of very much into like that more sartorial, smart look. Yeah,
but. Why is that an issue? Because isn't it important for like stylists to find their niche?
Yeah,
which is my first question. And then on from that, would you encourage stylists to like try different types of things in terms of what they style people in, like take themselves out of their comfort zone in order for them to kind of find out what they think their little niche is?
Sometimes I think you kind of like, when it comes to being a stylist, like a lot of times people already have a niche already, and I feel like that's always been my niche. It's just, if anything, like when you look at the shoots that I've done, for example, with one of the actors called Alfred Enoch, like if you look at the shoot I did, it's quite tailored, but at the same time, it's
just Alfred Enoch, sorry, the light skin product.
He's the guy from How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah, I knew he looked familiar.
So I did a shoot with him like many years ago, and that shit is probably like, I still like it because I still feel like the style is still current, and you can definitely see that in like a GQ or an Esquire, like in terms of like that's an elevated like look. Like all the brands I pulled for him were like proper high end brands that were elevating, like elevating his profile as well. Like till to this day, that shoot somehow circulates around on Instagram and like on Google, like so like stuff like that, like that's just timeless fashion. I think maybe the best way to describe it could be like it's timeless, because it's like it's simple, it's just classic, it fits well. That's just me. I haven't really been that stylist that I don't know what to call it, like I experiment, but I feel like my style is just always going to be timeless.
And that's a good thing, because I suppose it's funny how this convo's gone full circle, because that's kind of what goes into building that signature that we spoke about from before, innit? Yeah. So considering you're fairly early on in your journey, even though you are experienced, you've obviously mentioned names like Alfred Enoch, the guy from How to Get Away with Murder. That's like a big name. Like let's put this out there, obviously this is going to come out whenever it comes out, never in a couple months or whatever. Who do you want to style?
Ooh, very honest with you, I like personally, because like I've grown up listening to like I grew up listening to a lot of Channel U. Okay. Like, so like I like to work with like the whole UK scene. Like, I just feel like because of my connection within the whole high end fashion industry, like I feel like I can help them with that. Bridge the gap between connecting them to like these big designer brands and getting them to wear in their music videos, because I know they like wearing them stuff. So I'd love to work with those artists and just like elevate them. as well. I'd love to take it to America. Like, even if I just get like 1 or 2 acting like clients, I'll just happily like serve them for like red carpet looks.
Okay.
Yeah, or like just doing like TV work as well. Yeah, so like there is a vision, and the vision is, I don't know, it's happening. But it's still grafting.
Of course, bro.
Yeah.
You always never stop grafting, man.
Like I've done a lot of like celebrities already, so I can understand when people feel like, yeah, I've arrived, but yeah, the grafting is still going on, bro.
I like how you said that, Sean. Yeah, because one of the things I've clocked about you from listening to the other podcast you were on and just speaking to you, you mentioned how Instagram, not to say it's not real, but like, you've spoken about how people shouldn't necessarily pay too much attention to it because for example, with what you're saying, people have seen you work with my man from How to Get Away with Murder, obviously worked with this rapper and that rapper and that rapper, and they may feel like you've achieved everything you want to achieve already.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I just wanted to say I like how transparent you're being, because at the end of the day, nowadays everybody's growing up seeing Instagram every day and believing that every man and his dog has £1 million in his account, when in reality, fam, that's not the truth.
No, like it's still graft.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, it's Instagram for me. It's just branding. Like for me in particular, I don't put my personal life too much out there. Like I don't show my family. Like I'm married. I got
what days? I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm married. I got a son and everything. I don't try to show that too much. I just feel like Instagram is more about my it's more about me just trying to show my fashion work and just trying to like connect to the right people. And that's it. But yeah, like if anything, that's the way I see Instagram anyway. Like I see it as a networking tool, just like I see LinkedIn as a great platform as well. Like a lot of people say LinkedIn is great, and that's something that I particularly I'm not utilizing as much. Like once in a while in a blue moon, I might post like, oh, I've done this work, done that work. But there's a lot of people on LinkedIn are always looking to like connect with creatives. Yeah, you find a lot of creatives tell me their work has been found on LinkedIn. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because obviously LinkedIn has always been seen as like the professional platform where you have to be, unless you're a banker or a bloody lawyer, you shouldn't be on there. So it's interesting hearing that you're saying that stylists can actually leverage that. So that's even helpful to us.
Because one thing you have to remember is that I think like a lot of like, for example, like production agencies are on there, like advertising agencies are on there, and let's say they want to connect with a photographer or a stylist, they're probably going to look to LinkedIn as well, you know, just to find the right person, and then look for their portfolio on Google. Like a lot of times now, I think my work has just been found through various means. Like Instagram has definitely helped, but also I think Google visibility as well. Like just sometimes people just find me randomly and they just even be like, would you be interested in doing this project?
Visibility's come up a lot during this conversation, and I suppose with something like styling where your value comes from the aesthetic, do you know what I'm saying, what people see, it's important for you to put yourself in different places. And I like the fact that during this conversation you've shown that you've made genuine efforts to reach out to people and put yourself in places where other people might not, do you know what I'm saying? Because for example, with up and comers, whether you're I don't know, a musician or a designer or a stylist or whatever, some people think all I need is Instagram, but that's not the case. You know what I mean? You need more than that. You need a portfolio with a website or something where you're working on your SEO and whatnot. So
visibility is important, man. Thank you. I just think it's an important thing because, again, I don't have the much. If you go on my Instagram and my Twitter, I don't have the much amount of followers. But when people check the portfolio, it says a lot in itself. For the fact that I've worked with this guy, I've worked with that person, and it makes sense for me. That's the way I am. Like, although I think if I had a bigger following on socials, it helps those brands or those, like, you know, those people that who might want to work with me based on the fact that I just have a following. But yeah, that's at the moment I don't have that following. Maybe one day I might do. I might just do some sort of reality show that would just like shoot up.
Love Island. Oh, you're married. Sorry, you're married. My bad.
No, not like a Love Island, but like when I say reality show, maybe like there's like a fashion reality show where like maybe they like you know there's always these type of reality shows going about or like they may ask me to be like a judge, or I might be asked to do like a TV presenting, you know, like what they do on like Good Morning Britain.
So like, yeah, exactly, yeah, for real.
Yeah, or not Good Morning, on like the Lorraine show, like where Mark Hines goes and shows like the whole looks. Like, I might get asked to do something like that, and then that might help my visibility, and then like that will bring in more corporate brands wanting to work with me with more like branding and partnerships and all of that. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, that's the way my styling's going. Like I'm just making sure that my work is known by my word of mouth, by me emailing. I'm still hungry, you know.
I can tell, man. And Sean, like I love the way you think.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? You're very much cognizant of where you're at the moment, and you also know that it only takes, not let's say one moment, but it just takes particular small little things that can elevate you to, as you said, that level where you're on Good Morning Britain or whatever, going through the styling and whatnot. Like, yeah, all these things are possible. So Sean, thanks so much. I've loved this convo. The last question I'm going to ask, we ask this to all our guests, is like, if you could give one piece of advice to like any up and coming stylist or like up and coming designers, like anyone within the fashion industry, what would it be? For me, I'd definitely say give assisting a go. Like try get some assistant experience. I think as well, like because I get DM'd a lot about assisting. At the moment, I've got quite a few people that are already assisting me, and they're actually respected stylists within their field as well. But yeah, they still want to help me out, and like, you know, they want to be around what I'm creating as well. So I think assisting is never a bad thing. Like I was still assisting while I was still styling as a solo, on my solo. Like, you know, it just happens that you still want to be around where the magic is happening, you know, like where all the good stuff is happening. So like, because I think assisting is important because I was put in rooms that I don't think I would have been able to access on my own. Like, especially when I say like I'm meeting artists that who I grew up listening to, like, yeah, like stuff like that, or just even going into like labels. I'm like, oh yeah, this is nice. Like if I weren't assistant, I don't think I'd had those opportunities. Yeah. Now, Sean, you're the plug. You got to bring us through to some motives, man.
Yeah.
No, but Sean, thank you so much. For like, it's been a pleasure. Before we go, I want to give you the opportunity to shout out Focus Man and that, tell people where to find you, where people can see your portfolio and whatnot.
Sure. So my online store is at focusman.co.uk. So what essentially I do is basically I have a good connection with like distributors within the UK that sell like new and old season stock of like designer brands, but they all get it like below the retail price. And just because I have a love for like going to sample sales and stuff, so I just thought like, you know, I've got these connections, why not make it into a store? And yeah, people buy from me on a daily basis. So if you guys want to check it out, I've got a select few of brands, but all of it is like authentic, you know.
The main thing to say, isn't it? 100%.
It is all authentic. Don't worry, because like sometimes people can question because like with the pricing, but there are loads of like boutique stores out there on Instagram that do the same thing. But yeah, and then my portfolio is on www.seanazeez.com. That's where you can find everything about my styling and how I started. And hopefully I should be doing a workshop soon or something, because I get a lot of emails and a lot of inquiries, and I feel like if I'm a relatable person, maybe other people out there might want to actually see a workshop from me. Yeah, because I feel like it's, even if I can give them a live demonstration of a shoot,
no, it would make a big difference.
It helps because like I feel like a lot of guys that look like me want to get into this industry. So yeah,
no, for real, no, pick up you, Sean, man. Again, Sean, thanks so much for this convo, bro. Hope you lot have enjoyed it, which I'm sure you have. You know where to find us. WMTV_LD on Instagram. WMTV on LinkedIn. Follow us on TikTok as well, and obviously on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all of that. But yeah, thanks for listening. As I always say, keep it locked. If you ever want to take in future episodes on the go, you can also find us on Apple Music and Spotify. When you get there, please, if you don't mind, leave us a 5-star review and whatnot. It will definitely help. And yeah, as I always say, keep it locked.